We have a stock market that has hit record highs 81 times since our election victory, 81 times. It's at a new high right now. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. Very shortly, it's going to be at a 19-year low. We think the numbers are going to continue to go down.
Well, that was President Trump touting the market's performance since his election. And, well, despite more sideways movement for the market, investors right now appear to be, well, in my mind, they're clearly looking for the next catalyst. And that could be the jobs report on Friday. The initial reaction this morning to that ADP report sent major indices much higher out the gate. And it could be a harbinger for that government number. By the way, manufacturing 40,000, the highest number ever for ADP. Meanwhile, lots of questions remain, including the final version of this GOP tax bill and what it looks like. I mean, the likelihood of a last-minute horse trading is going to probably mean that your final corporate tax rate is going to be 22%. I've always suspected that would be the number, 22 to 25%. But that shouldn't be a surprise, I think. Ultimately, be that as it may, we're going to have some hand-wringing, you have some fear-mongering about broken promises, but we're going to get the job done. As far as today's session is concerned, we saw a re-rotation back in technology names, and believe it or not, a lot of those oversold stocks, those high flyers are oversold. Of course, though, the biggest rotation is excitement from stocks to Bitcoin. Another crazy day for the cryptocurrency. It rallied 13% to 13,214. It brings its total value to just $221 billion, which puts it right outside the top 10 most valuable companies in the S&P 500. Wells Fargo sitting at number 10 at $242 billion. Here to discuss, Shah Gilani, editor of the Capital Wave Forecast. Let me ask you about the markets first. Little sideways movement, a lot of rotation, some anxiety building up. What's going on?
I think there's been profit taking coming into the end of the year. I think there's a little bit of nervousness here and there, a lot of geopolitical issues that investors are worried about, and tax cuts, there's a bit of a worry. I think they're going to get passed. I think that's going to be a huge plus for the market. But until that happens, I think the market is generally a little bit nervous in here. We've seen some rotation. We've seen this tech stock sell off. I mean, these are the high flyers. They have led the market higher. So when the tech stocks sell off, that's profit taking. You know,
and I guess the conundrum for a lot of folks out there, particularly people who use stops, is that these stocks are down 5, 6, 7, 8%, but up 50% for the year. Right. How do you reconcile that as someone in these stocks as they become more volatile? Do you stay the course or do you react to these swift moves?
Well, I think you stay the course. You can't have your stops so tight that the stock moves down 5% and you get taken out.
A lot of these experts, they'll tell people put in a 5% stop.
That's way too tight, Charles. I think maybe 10% is reasonable because these stocks have to have some room to move. Again, these stocks have been the leadership. We're talking about the tech stocks. They've been the leadership stocks. You've got to give them a little bit of room to breathe. There's going to be profit taking towards the end of the year. I'm surprised that it hasn't. Actually, today we've seen some buying back in them again, down 5 and 6%. They started looking like bargains again.
All right, speaking of volatility and craziness, I watched a movie over the weekend called Tulip Fever. How appropriate. Bitcoin. People ask me, I say it's going to go to $1 million or bust. I mean, it's going to be one or the other in my mind. What do you see?
This is like Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds in terms of a book that discusses the tulip bubble and
Charles
all
McKay,
bubbles.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I see this as a bit of a bubble, but you know, this is the kind of thing that if you're in it, you ride it. There's no reason not to ride this. The thing to look
How are you going to play it from here on out?
I'm not in Bitcoin, but I'm going to get into Bitcoin. I'm probably going to ride it from the long side. And I'm going to do it through the futures market. So next week, and when the CBOE and the CME, I think it's CME first or CBOE first, I'm not sure which one, is going to start launching futures, and then the following week, one of the other exchanges is going to. That's the best way to trade it because you can get out, you can put stops in, you can trade it that way.
That will give it credibility, along with what we're hearing from retailers like Square. Saying that folks are using Bitcoin. It is moving into our commerce system, and in my mind, it's not a complete fluke. It's not a tulip. It's more than a tulip, that's for sure. Shah, I always appreciate your expertise.
Thanks, Charles.